Yo, it's your boy Vega Bomber, and, well, this is another edition of the mobile edition. That's right. Since it's the holidays, I'm not in my normal settings, which is in my apartment shooting this. So, this is the best way I'm going to be able to get content out, so I'm going to do it this way. And so now, let's talk about this whole spoiler thing. Let's talk about the things I couldn't talk about in the other video, and then maybe get into a couple of some of my thoughts about the backlash as well. So this is going to be great. Go ahead, grab your popcorn, sit tight, and after that, and let's do this. So, spoilers. This movie is definitely a lot about death. A lot of people die. Luke dies. Akbar dies. Neenum dies. Snoke dies. And Commander Holdo, who I don't know much about, she dies. So Laura Dern, awesome. You show up in one film and then boom, you're destroyed just like that. Yeah. It's got a lot to this. There's a lot of points I want to start to, but let me start off with what I liked about the film first, because let's keep it positive, yo. The cinematography, again, I thought it was wonderful. The shots of the throne room, really, with all that red, the way that looked, that was absolutely beautiful. I think the way this film was shot, it was shot well. The establishing shots were good, the over angles, shoulder angles, all that good stuff. Then the wide shots showing you the ships, like when they hyperspace and jumped right through the big ship, and it just, the way the screen went silent, and then boom, you heard it afterwards. I mean, what a great effect. What a great way to shoot a film. So Rian Johnson, you know your visual storytelling. You know how to do that. So I was really happy with that. I liked seeing Luke and Yoda again. So the Force Ghost of Yoda comes in, talks to Yoda, and for all you who are saying, no, this is a different Luke. No. It's the same Luke. Yoda says, always looking what's in front and not what's right in front of you, right? So him looking at Kylo Ren and thinking in the future what he might do instead of just keeping his mind straight on what was going on at the moment, caused a lot of problems for Luke. So I love that camaraderie back and forth with him. I thought it was curious that that Yoda could hit Luke with that stick since he's dead and all. But again, that moment was playful, and it kind of just shows the great bond between the mentor and the student. And for the most part, I loved it. I thought that was a good part of the film. The Praetorian Guards, yes, all those dudes in the red, love those dudes. For once, we have some people who are trained and can fight, and they're not just stormtroopers who get just shot up, or droids who just get blown to pieces like the droid army so easily. I like the Praetorian Guards, and I like the droidicas that we saw in the prequels, because they actually seem like weapons. They're not just there for fodder to be mowed down. So love the Praetorian Guards. The Kylo Ren and Rey conflict, that whole idea of them talking to each other through the Force and Snoke being behind it, I thought that was genius. That was different. Wasn't expecting it. I thought that was pretty good. And I'll say this movie did something to me in terms of looking at Kylo Ren. I don't like Kylo Ren's character that much. I've been hating on him since I first saw him take off his mask. I loved him until he took off his mask, and then once he took off his mask, I just couldn't stand him. Just didn't appeal to me as a real threatening villain, and that's what you need. If there's no threat, then who cares? But I gotta say, the way he's portrayed here, Adam Driver did a great job. In fact, all the actors did a great job, mostly in terms of their performances. I can't really say that there was anybody who I thought was overacting, except for there were some cringe parts when Daisy Ridley was saying a few pieces where it just sounded like she was reading off of something real quick. But other than that, I'll just say that the performances were pretty good here. Adam Driver, I got to give him props, because I really wasn't a fan of Kylo Ren. Right now, I'm not a real big fan of him now, but I at least can respect him a little bit more. I appreciated that he's a little complicated, because now I know why. There's more answers to why he's this way, and that helps a little bit, because it's better to show and not just tell. So those are kind of some of the more key things that I loved about this film. Now, let me talk about the things that I kind of struggled with, because I really did struggle with this film. I'll start off with just Snoke's death. First of all, Snoke, the way he was set up, the way we were led, right? We were led to think, okay, here's Snoke. He's more powerful than Palpatine. That's what the TFA does. It's a little commercial for him. And I guess for those people saying, well, we didn't know the Emperor's background, why does that matter? Well, no. Here's the thing. if the Emperor's dead and Darth Vader's dead, as far as we know, in Episode 6, when they all died in Return of the Jedi, we're thinking, okay, that's the big bad there. It's over with. It's done. And that's the way you feel in Episode 6. Episode 6 feels like a finale. Like you get a final finality about what all's happened. However, then all of a sudden Snoke pops up. And all of a sudden he's really bad. And he's a dark force user and all this. You can't just kill him as quick as you did. I don't mind you killing Snoke, but I thought it was a little early. And I didn't really like the diva taunting part of it, where he's just, nobody can ever disobey me. And excuse me? You know Kylo Ren is a kid with a helmet running around. He's unpredictable. You should never trust that you got him. So I didn't understand, let me say, how he could just let his guard down for a second, go off on this braggadocio claim about everything, not even sense that lightsaber turns, and then it gets killed. I mean, should you kill Snoke? Yeah, at some point you have to. And I get for the story and for the plot points, we needed to, because we want to make Kylo Ren eventually the final villain. So with Snoke's death, I just thought it was anticlimactic in a way, because it was too soon. I didn't expect it, so it was a surprise. Like, I didn't expect it to go down like that, but I knew he was going to get killed. And I don't know. I think that was too fast. Another thing I thought about a lot was Rey's parents. And again, I don't like the idea that The Force Awakens, again, kind of like in court, led the witness to believe something. So, for example, a lawyer's kind of leading the witness when he goes, okay, now, witness, when you saw him walking out with a gun and looking angry, didn't you think he was about to kill people in the audience? That would be leading the witness. Well, here, The Force Awakens kept saying, she kept showing us how she kept talking about her parents. Like, I'm waiting for my parents. My parents. She's even marking down days. So all of a sudden, the focus is, well, who's Rey's parents? And so for anybody to get mad at fanboys for kind of being interested in finding out who her parents, when you led the witness that way, that just seems kind of silly. So whoever's slamming people for that is ridiculous. Now, the idea that Rey's parents are nobodies, does that bother me? No, I mean, I guess at some point this happens. That's the universe, right? We don't know the parents of Mace Windu or Yoda or all of them. Maybe they weren't Force sensitive. So it doesn't bother me that that's the case, that she's a nobody. But I feel like, since this is a Skywalker story, and I know Kylo Ren's a Skywalker, it would have been better if you just said that in TFA, that her parents were just nobody, and leave it like that. And they'll say, well, she did say she was nobody, but come on, we were being led by the nose. And so I didn't like that trickery that was going on. It wasn't necessary per se, especially since this film has a lot of things where it went, you think it's this? Gotcha. So one or two times it's fine, but throughout most of the movie like that, it's kind of like you overdid it. Just like The Force Awakens, in my opinion, overdid it with all the callbacks and homages to Episode 4. It's okay to do some, but you don't want to do as much as what was done there. But that's a whole other story. Let me stick to it. Captain Phasma, again, I thought she was great. She was cool looking. Sucks that, once again, she was brought back from the trash compactor somehow. We never find out how she got out of the trash compactor. She shows up again and gets her butt kicked again. Of course, it needed to be a sucker punch from Finn for it to happen, but still. But I'm just like, Captain Phasma, I mean, okay, wow. You just got Boba Fetted. I mean, this is not even interesting to see you. You could be so much better than this. And I think I have some ways I would have done this differently. But the idea of just Finn and Captain Phasma having a thing, it just didn't pay off very well. I think there were better ways to use Captain Phasma that would have made more sense. And then, since I'm bringing up Finn, let me talk about Finn. I don't like Finn's character. Didn't like it before in the first time I saw him, and I don't like him now. Mace Windu is an awesome person of color that I could look at. I even hate saying person of color, but I like Lando Calrissian. There's something cool. He's got a cool factor. I like Mace Windu. He's powerful and cool, Mace Windu. But I look at Finn, and here he is, the jokey joke. You know, here we go with the fetch it and step it routine. Here's the secondary comedy, the black guy that comes in and just, he's always slick and jive talking, and he can't be just trusted. He can't just be a good guy on his own. He has to work his way into your conscience by just being the funny slapstick guy. And once again, getting tased again. Didn't he get tased in The Force Awakens? Now he gets tased again. How many times have we got to watch Finn get his butt kicked? Yeah, and if you say, well, but Phasma, yeah, but come on, that was really him just kind of going at her all anger. And good fighters don't use anger to fight. They used technique. And she was definitely better in the technique, but they needed that cheap, little deal. And and by the way, there's a plot hole there, because in The Last Jedi, we see that Captain Phasma's armor can deflect bolts. Well, if that's the case, then in The Force Awakens, when they put guns on her to make her give up the code and disarm the Death Star, which was Starkiller Base there, then why was she afraid if her armor can, repel bolts? See, so that's kind of a plot hole there. I don't know that was a good idea. But let me just get to the biggest thing. Excuse me. Let me get to the biggest thing. And that's going to be Luke Skywalker. Now, I'm okay with the idea that Luke Skywalker was bitter to a degree, because why wouldn't he be? His dad, who was a Jedi, is dead. Ben Kenobi, his good friend who trained him as a Jedi, died. Yoda, a Jedi, also died on him. I mean, there's just so much death around him. And look, the rebels are still losing. So I get it. And then, of course, his school gets taken over. So I get that he's bitter. But he's been missing, though, for 30 years. So I could see him getting bitter for a little while. But then why not show the Luke that says, you know what? I'm ready for anything. Luke was always gang-ho to just jump in there and just save his friends, especially his sister. Right? When Darth Vader called out his sister and said, well, maybe I'll just go to your sister and get her. That made him jump out of his hiding spot and Return of the Jedi and go straight dark side on his father for a few minutes until he pulled himself back. So I get the impulses, but my problem is, you had a choice here, didn't he? Disney. You had a choice. Rian Johnson, you had a choice. You could show him as a guy who was bitter, who turned back around and came back to good, and not just at the very last second of the film. Or you could just show him as a bitter guy who eventually goes dark. But knowing what you know about this fan base, and knowing how we were teased Luke Skywalker in the first one, and then knowing that Han Solo already died in the first one, he died in a very crappy way. With this, you have to think about that too. And this is Luke Skywalker. And again, I'm okay with Luke having to die. He's going to have to die at some point. But I just don't like the idea that he spends most of his time basically being Clint Eastwood's character in Gran Torino. You kids, get off my lawn! Off my lawn! I mean, you made him this old, bitter curmudgeon for most of his life. To which then I also have other questions. If he's this bad, and he says he came there to die, right? Why does Yoda wait till now to show up and say, hey man, let me go ahead and give him a pep talk so he'll get back out there and do the right thing? Why would you wait that long, Yoda? If you could see into the future, if Luke could see into the future of this kid, you can certainly look into the future of Luke. And you can see that if he's isolated for too long, he's going to go crazy. So why do you wait till now to jump in? Why didn't you jump in earlier? But we can talk about how that could have easily been fixed. So for me, how did I feel about this film overall? I got to tell you, I understand why they took the chances they did. I don't think that every chance they took was great. I don't. I do appreciate that he was trying to do something different. So I give it that. Luke dying the way he died at the end of the movie, sure, you finally brought him back and finally let him get, his cojones back, his chutzpah back, to where he could finally jump out there and do something. He does the force projection. I don't know that I like that, but I see why you did it. He said he's not leaving that island no matter what, so I get that was a cheap way out. I still feel like if I'm making choices, now if it's me making choices, and me knowing how Han Solo went out was already kind of anticlimactic, I can't have another one of the heroes going out cheesy. I would give the fans what they want to see, right? Because if I go to a steakhouse, I expect steak, not pizza. That's why I'm going to the steakhouse. And you should serve me that. If I go see a Taken movie, I want to see Liam Neeson kick butt. What you did here with Luke was almost the equivalent of having Liam Neeson in a Taken movie go, look guys, I'm not going to fight. Let's all just sit down and let's just negotiate. We don't go to the film to see Liam Neeson negotiate. We go there to see him kick butt. And to change that just because you want to do something new and different, I can't get on board with that. So to me, I would have had Luke really be there. And Luke didn't have to do a whole bunch of things. He had to do one thing. And that was knock over one AT-ST, because they were all in a row. And that would have knocked them all over. All he had to do was hit one. And they would have all fallen over. Right? So there was ways to do this. And there was also ways to do, well, I'm going to save it. But there were other ways to do this. So anyway, that's my thought. I feel like this movie it's not the greatest movie in the world. It's not the worst movie in the world. And I don't think it ruined my childhood. And I don't think that just because you take chances means it was a good risk, just because you chose to take risk. Risks are better when they're calculated. And I think, from my perspective, that Rian Johnson, you might have missed a little bit on this one. I get where you're trying to go, and it was clever, and it made sense. Trust me, it did. But I'm not so sure that's what I would do. Because when I go to a Taken movie, I just want to see Liam Neeson kick butt. I don't want to see him become somebody who now sits down and has come to Jesus, and now he doesn't want to fight no more. He just wants to negotiate with people. That's not Taken. That should be a whole nother movie. Anyway, that's enough from me. What did you guys think? What were your real spoiler thoughts about this film? You know, did it really kind of discombobulate you a little bit? Were you a little upset? Because I get that, you know. Or were you just thinking, nah, man, if you're going to pull the Band-Aid off, just pull the Band-Aid all the way off. Well, either way, I want to hear what you think about it. So I'll meet you in the comment section. Anyway, it's your boy Vega Bomber, and I am out. You! The noise. Bomber blowing things up. You get it. Merry Christmas, everybody.